لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين ومن اتبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. To proceed, to continue our discussion concerning أحوال المبتدأ or the states of al-mubtada'. Al-mubtada'a being the first ruknun, pillar of al-jumla al-ismiyya. What we want to speak about in this lesson are the different types of al-mubtada'u that we are likely to encounter. So we're going to call it أشكال المبتدأ. Right, أشكال المبتدأ. أشكال being the plural of شكل, which means form. So, what therefore is the first and most common form of al-mubtada'u in al-jumla al-ismiyya? It is the ismun sarihun, as we say, the clear and apparent ismun. Such as if we say al-waladu talibun. Al-waladu talibun, that is the first and most common form of al-mubtada'u, which is a simple ismun, which is marfu'un, followed by another ismun, which is also marfu'un. The difference between them being, of course, that al-mubtada'u, al-waladu, is ma'rifatun, because the root principle governing al-mubtada'u is that it is ma'rifatun, and the root principle governing al-khabaru is that it is nakiratun. Ma'rifatun and nakiratun, as you're aware by now, inshallah ta'ala, ma'rifatun means known and nakiratun means unknown. The indicative, either one will be, in most instances, al, to make it ma'rifatun, and at-tanweenu, to indicate that it is nakiratun. In both these words, therefore, they are an ismun. First one is marfu'un khabarun, rather al-mubtada'u, and talibun is al-khabaru marfu'un wa alamatu raf'ihi ad-dammatu al-zahiratu ala akhirihi, and that's simple, insha'Allah. So, the second type, which is very common, is if we say, for example, anta sadiqun. Sadiqun. Anta sadiqun is the second type. Anta, what type of word is anta? It is damirun munfasilun. So, it is a damirun, which is separate, munfasilun. It is mabniyun alal fathi. It is mabniyun alal fathi. However, in this instance, its role or its function in our sentence is as a mubtada'un. It's al-mubtada'un in our jumla al-ismiyya. Therefore, we have to say that it is damirun mabniyun ala al-fathi fi محل رفع مبتدأ right. ضمير مبني, because this is not an ism which is mu'rabun, it will not change depending upon what is acting upon it or its role in the sentence. It is fixed, mabniyun al-fathi, as is apparent. However, because from the principles that govern al-mubtada'u is that it must be marfu'un, but an ism which is mabniyun cannot be described as being marfu'un. Therefore, in order to explain, we say fi mahalli, in the position raf'in of being marfu'un mubtada'un, and it is the al-mubtada'u. So that inshallah ta'ala should be clear now. Sadiqun, which is therefore al-khabaru, is a simple ismun, sarihun, apparent, and it is marfu'un. The indicator for it being marfu'un is الضمة والظاهرة على آخره, and it is al-khabaru, the khabarun. Therefore, first example is al-waladu, and this is anta. The third type that we regularly encounter is something called, as we mentioned, ismu isharatin, such as هذه بنت. هذه بنت, which means this is a girl. So هذه بنت, this too is what we call الجملة الاسمية. Because there are only two words here, we know, well, we should be able to deduce that هذه is our al-mubtada'u and bintun is our al-khabaru. However, هذه is, how would we describe it? اسم إشارة إشارة, right? Is it مبني or مؤرب? Does هذه change depending upon what is acting upon it? No. So we say it is مبني upon what? على الكسر, على الكسر, right? So it's اسم, rather اسم إشارة مبني على الكسر, but we have to explain because it's al-mubtada'u, therefore it must be in the marfu'un state, but we cannot say it is marfu'un because it is mabniun al-kasr. So we say fi mahalli jarrin. هذه is therefore اسم إشارة مبني على الكسر في محل جر, right? And bintun, of course, would be a ismun sarihun. It's a clear and apparent ismun. It is marfu'un. The indicator of it being marfu'un is الضمة والظاهرة على آخره, and it is in the position of being the khabarun, but that's straightforward then, right? So the fourth type, therefore, is that we can say ayyu. What type of word is ayyu? It is what we call ismu istifhamin, to ask a question. It means which, right? Ayyu, and then we can say ayyu talibaini أعقلوا. أعقلوا. This is an interesting sentence, isn't it? أي طالبين أعقلوا. أي اسم استفهام. Right? When you have أي, it's going to be also the mudafun. It is going to be the mudafun. So what follows it therefore will be the mudafun ilayhi. So talibaini, which is al-muthanna, the dual of taliban, is majrurun. Right? So note that talibaini is not al-khabaru. Al-mubtada, ayyu is al-mubtada'u, but talibaini is not al-khabaru. What is al-khabaru is aqalu, but we'll explain that in a moment. So ayyu is al-mubtada'u. It is ismu istifhamin. It's marfu'un, as you can see, and the indicator that it is marfu'un is a dammatu al-dhahiratu al-akhirihi. Talibaini here is mudafun ilayhi, and it is majrurun. So if we ask what is the indicator of it being majrurun, we would say that alamatu raf'ihi al-ya'u. Al-ya'u. The ya there is the indicator that it is majrurun. Why? Because it is al-muthanna. Al-muthanna. Al-muthanna means the dual. And in the dual, as you will have learnt, that the indicator of it being majrurun is not al-kasratu upon the end, but rather it is al-ya'u huna, here. So alamatu raf'ihi al-ya'u, because it is al-muthanna. Right? So that leaves us therefore with aqalu. Aqalu means most intelligent. Aqalu. It's an ismun. And in this instance, it is our khabarun. It's the khabarun in this jumla al-ismiyya. It is marfu'un, and the indicator that it is marfu'un is the dhammah upon the end of the word. Right? So, the fifth type of word which can be used to introduce al-jumla al-ismiyya is something like an ismun mawsulun, like alladhi. Alladhi. Alladhi means which or who. So if we say alladhi ja'a Muhammadun. Muhammadun. Alladhi ja'a Muhammadun. Who ja'a, he came, is Muhammadun. Right. So alladhi therefore is what? It's an ismun mawsulun. Right? Ismun mawsulun. And alladhi, like the other asma'ul mawsulah, are mabniyun. So wherever alladhi appears in a sentence, it is always going to be alladhi, and it can never be anything other than alladhi, regardless of its function in the sentence. So it is therefore mabniyun. What's it mabniyun upon? Ala sukuni, because there is a sukoon there. Right? So because it is mabniyun ala sukuni, we say fi mahalli raf'in mubtada'un. It is fi mahalli raf'in mubtada'un. right? في محل رفع مبتدأ. الذي is interesting, and the reason being is because, and this rule inshallah we will explain in more detail, but what follows alladhi is called silatul mawsul. Silatul mawsul means what is connected after alladhi, right? So the information that comes to us after the ismun mawsulun. So what is the information that has come to us after alladhi? It is ja'a. It is ja'a. What does ja'a mean? It is fi'lun madin mabniyun ala fathin. Right? That's what it is. But because in Arabic grammar the silatul mawsul, and this will be explained in more detail in another lesson insha'Allah ta'ala, the silatul mawsul, the grammarians, they say this phrase, la mahalla lahu min al-i'rab. Min al-i'rabi. It has la mahalla, no position of al-i'rab, meaning that ja'a here, we don't say it's marfu'un, we don't say it's mansubun, we don't say it's majrurun. Rather, it does not have a position. In fact, there are several types of words or combinations of words that appear in certain types of sentences that they say la mahalla lahu min al-i'rab, it has no position of al-i'rab, and silatul mawsul, so that which comes after the ismun mawsul, is one of them, right? So if ja'a has no position of al-i'rab, we can ignore that. I mean, it's still relevant to the meaning, but in terms of our grammatical analysis, we can ignore it. So what do we say? We say that alladhi ja'a, the one who came, Muhammadun is Muhammad. So Muhammadun therefore is, in our Jumlatul Ismiyya, it is al-khabaru, right? It's a simple ismun, sarihun, it's an apparent ismun. It's marfu'un, and the indicator for being marfu'un is ad-dammatu ala akhirihi, upon the ending. So in our fifth example, we have alladhi, beginning al-jumlatul ismiyatu, taking the position of al-mubtada'u. Therefore, the sixth and the final example that we're going to mention, where we have al-mubtada'u that is not an ismun sarihun, an apparent ismun, is if we say, for example, أن تحفظ أنفأ لك. أن تحفظ أنفأ لك, which means that you memorize, أنفأ لك, أنفأ, more beneficial for you. So this sentence communicates a principle that for you to commit to memory rules and principles and anything else that you consider important, أنفأ is more beneficial لك, for you, than if you to write them down and then keep them somewhere safe and then forget about them and they're not with you. So what you memorize and commit to your memory is better for you because it accompanies you wherever you are. Now, what's interesting about this, that we don't begin here again with an ismun. What do we begin with? An. What type of kalimatun is an? It is harfu nasbin. It is harfu nasbin. It's a harfun that makes mansubun the fi'lun which follows it, which here is tahfadha. Ordinarily it would be tahfadhu. So an is harfu nasbin mabniyun ala sukuni. Tahfadha is al-fi'lu al-mudari'u. Now what's interesting, that here, and tahfadha, this particular type of construct, where you have al-fi'lu al-mudari'u, which is preceded by an, it is called in the Arabic language al-masdaru al-mu'awwalu. Al-masdaru al-mu'awwalu. What does al-masdaru al-mu'awwalu mean? It means that, of course, every fi'lun is based upon an ismun. Although there is a difference of opinion, because some grammarians say no, every ismun is based upon a fi'lun. But the point is that every fi'lun will have an ismun which communicates or conveys the same meaning. So, in general, therefore, if you say an tahfadha, that you memorize, how could we express an tahfadha as an ismun? We could say, I'll write it here, we could say hifdhuka. Hifdhuka, which means your memorization. So an tahfadha is similar if you to express it as an ismun to hifdhuka, your memory. That you memorize your memory, it's the same. The role of an here, as the grammarians say, is that tu'awwil ma ba'daha bi masdarin. That an, its role is to render the word that follows it to its root form, which in this instance is hifdhun. So tahfadh is like hifdhun, your memorization. Well, if you say hifdhuka, it would be your memorization. So because that construct can be interpreted to be an ismun, hifdhu, you can therefore begin a sentence with it, and this is quite normal. Like the ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah, an tasumu khayrun lakum. An tasumu. We have the same construct. An harfu nasbin mabniyun ala sakun. Tasumu. Tasumu fi'lun mudari'un. It's become mansubun. And the indicator for it being mansubun is hadf an-noon. It should be tasumuna, but it becomes tasumu. So an tasumu, if you were to interpret it in its masdar form, it would be siyamuka or siyamukum, your plural fasting. So because an tahfadha is what we call al-masdar al-muawwalu, it can be interpreted to mean hifdhuka. Therefore, the grammarians say that when we perform the i'rabun of this portion, we can either say that it is fi mahalli raf'in al-mubtada'u, right? So fi mahalli raf'in mubtada'u, or we can say it is marfu'un because it's an ismun, because actually what we're talking about is hifdhuka. So you have a choice. Anfa'u, of course, is the anfa'u, therefore, is khabarun marfu'un wa alamatu raf'ihi ad-dammatu ad-dhahiratu ala akhirih laka jarun wa majrurun. The meaning therefore is for you to memorize, is more beneficial for you. So in these 6 examples, we have seen 6 different methods of introducing al-jumla al-ismiya too, because we have 6 different types of al-mubtada'u. The first one, it is ismun sarihun, it's an apparent ismun, it is marfu'un. The second one, anta, is a damirun munfasilun, it is therefore fi mahalli raf'in. The third is ismu isharatin, it is mabniyun, therefore it is fi mahalli raf'in too. Ayu is ismu istifhamin, it is marfu'un. Alladhi is ismu اسم موصول, it is مبني على السكون, therefore it too is في محل رفع. And أن تحفظ is المصدر المؤول في محل رفع, or it is اسم مرفوع if it's interpreted or understood to refer to حفظك. 6 types. Important to remember because they're frequently used, and it's important to understand that simply because you do not see what appears to be an ismun, which is sarihun, apparent at the beginning of your sentence, it therefore is not a jumlatul ismiya. That is not always the case, as is evidenced here. And we'll conclude on that point. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.